They say that any job on a car is just one rusty bolt away from being a nightmare. And this Volvo is no different. You may remember in a previous video, I actually tried to change the rear brakes on this car because they really needed doing. Unfortunately, however, it didn't go to plan at all. There was rusty bolts on this side and on this side, and I can't get new calipers on, which I need to fit because the old ones have seized. We're going to try to solve that in today's video, but I'm not really feeling too good about it. We'll find out how I get on. Just to explain the predicament I find myself in, this was the caliper I attempted to get off. It has seized, so when I tried winding it back with a rewind tool, it didn't move anywhere. So I tried to replace the caliper by attacking this bolt here, and unfortunately I rounded it. So I'm going to take this brake line off, and I've bought a new brake line, so I'll be able to fit a new brake line, a new brake caliper, new pads and new discs. So we need to get behind there and access the actual hard line and see if I can undo that. Snapped. Great. The arch liner is off and I have access to our brake line here, and well, it's not good news. Before I talk about that, I want to turn your attention to this massive gaping rust hole. Volvo installed the Bluetooth connectors on this Model IC. There is a fair bit of corrosion along here, but it's all solid metal, which is all right for now. But I have a problem. That over there, it looks really rusty. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of room to actually work with in that gap. So what I'm going to do is slowly apply some penetrating fluid, leave it for a couple of hours, apply some heat and hopefully work that off. What I don't want to have to do is break this line somehow and then replace it, because it goes, as you may be able to see, it goes all the way in there under the fuel tank and then runs along the fuel tank there and then comes down. So if I want to replace that line over there, I'd have to take the fuel tank out. That is something I absolutely am not going to do. I would rather scrap this car. And obviously I have the world's best luck, or the world's worst luck. I have the wrong spanner. I have bought a 10mm flare nut spanner instead of 11mm, which is what it is. So I'm going to have to return this and buy the proper one. I have now acquired the correct spanner, but unfortunately my problems don't stop there. You may be able to see that this bracket here has actually come away from the body, which means, as I shall now demonstrate, if I try to undo it, I'm pulling this bracket further and further away and not actually taking this bolt off at all. So I'm gonna have to come up with some sort of solution to stop that happening, because it's also bending this brake line, which is not good news at all. The problems just don't stop coming with this car, unfortunately. I have made some positive progress, although it's not entirely good news, because I have managed to get this loose. As you may be able to see, I can move it slightly, but you'll also be able to see that when I twist it, the pipe is also moving, which is really not good news. It means if I twist this anymore, I'll just snap this brake line clean off. So we're gonna have to continue spraying it up with penetrating oil and see if that makes any difference at all.
I decided to start applying some heat to the brake line, but it's important to never use a blowtorch in this case.
What I've done is I've wrapped a few damp rags around the actual brake line itself. I want to be able to get some heat into the nut and expand that and really break it away from the pipe itself. So these wet rags should help protect the line a little bit. We're going to see if that makes any difference. You do not understand how relieved I am that this is now loose and the brake line is free. We've done one side, I'm going to do the other side, and hopefully that doesn't take as long, because this genuinely took me 45 minutes and I'm not joking. Also, as a quick note to any of you doing this at home, I would highly recommend not using a blowtorch, use a heat gun instead, have plenty of lubricant at hand, and use plenty of wet rags to basically concentrate the heat on the parts of the bolt where you want to free it off. These can take a long time. It took me about 20 minutes on this side just of heating and slowly working this bolt free, making sure I used these wet rags to keep the heat concentrated where I want. Do not use a blowtorch, especially on rubber lines like this. I have heard stories of them collapsing and blowing up in people's faces with boiling brake fluid, so you do not want that. Also, the last bit of advice I would give is get yourselves one of these flare nut wrenches. Do not use an open-ended spanner. You will round these bolts off really, really easily, and then you're in a whole world of pain. To think that changing these pads, which are obviously gone, would turn it into such a massive job, having to replace the whole line and everything. It just goes to show that working on old cars is really sometimes not fun, but it is totally worth it sometimes. Our shiny new parts are ready to go on. We have new pads, obviously, that was the whole point of the job, a new caliper, a new braided HEL brake line, which I'm very excited about, and a new disc, and this one is drilled, so it should help a little bit with cooling when I'm sending it, which I obviously never do. Luckily my wheel bearing is still good. Unfortunately, this clip is slightly too small to go on the new braided line, so I'm going to have to grind it down. Do not try this at home. That is one side completed. A new caliper, disc, pads as you can see, a new line which was actually trickier to install than I thought. It doesn't quite screw into the hard pipe as much as I thought it would, and it doesn't leak, which is a good thing. It has been a considerably long day, and I'm glad to say that we have new brakes on this side and on this side. Unfortunately, it took longer than expected because on this side I actually stretched the handbrake cable, so my handbrake is now really high, All things considered, it's not too big a deal. I'll have to sort it out in the future, obviously. I've started bleeding the brakes on this side, and actually on this side there is a leak, as you'll be able to see over there, and I suspect it's coming from this bolt over here, which doesn't seem to be done tight, and it's a bit wet, as you can see. So I'm gonna have to take this caliper back off and try and tighten that nut up, which is so much fun. While I was trying to finish bleeding this, it has started leaking over there too. I don't know if you can quite see that, but there are a few stains on my makeshift tray here, which means I now have to take this caliper off and try and tighten everything down again. Honestly, why is putting on an arch liner so difficult? I'm actually really happy with the way they look. It looks really cool. I like the vented disc. Unfortunately, I didn't have time, obviously, to paint the calipers. I'm not really sure what colour to go for, and I will do it at some later point. It's not that difficult. There are a few other things to sort on this car in general, but there's one big thing which you can probably tell, and that is what we're going to do next.
That job is to clean the car because it is filthy, inside and out. So I've brought the car to my friend's Slim's Detailing, who's going to make this car look factory fresh.
With any detail, the first thing to do is start with the wheels. So we're going to start by rinsing them and then use some all-purpose cleaner. Is that right? I think so. I'm not the one doing this, by the way, so I have no detailing experience. That is 1 year's worth of brake dust. The wheels are done and they'll be clean for about a week or so, I hope. The next step is the body, and we're doing a pre-wash on it?
Yeah, pre-wash.
Pre-wash, yeah, okay. So pre-wash next.
It's important that snow foam is always rinsed off before it starts drying. So that is what we're doing now.
So we're doing a 1 bucket wash method because obviously this car gets washed once a year and it's scratched every single day probably. So, I mean, we have these grit guards in the bottom and on the side to minimize scratching, but honestly, it doesn't even matter.
You can see quite clearly all the fine scratches on this car. I'm not sure how well the camera picks them up. I mean, you can see quite a nice one there.
I don't know about fine.
And really, that is a reason why I'm not too fussed about this car getting overly dirty, because the paint is actually really terrible if you look closely. But to be honest, I think Slim's Detailing has done quite a good job here, so I'm quite happy. And the next job is even worse, so I hope he's ready for that.
There's a couple streaks just around there, so we're going to use Koch Chemie FSE to get rid of those.
The next job is this interior, which is disgusting. This car is used as a workhorse, and for that reason, I've not ever cleaned this interior, I think, properly. So we're going to do that today, and we see how we get on. This car is already dirty again, but it looks 1,000 times better than what it did. And actually, I'm really happy with how it's cleaned up. If you've liked this video and found it useful, especially the brakes, because I know some of you will be struggling with that, please consider liking this video. And if you want to see more of this car, consider subscribing as well. Thanks.